And welcome everybody. It is Wednesday and another time for another One Now episode. I'm a little tired today. I didn't sleep so well, but I'm trying to keep my energy good so I can give it all to you guys because everybody still needs motivation and inspiration on this day. It is actually Liberation Day in this country, which means we're celebrating freedom, although we're still sort of locked up in the house, but that's okay. We're staying inspired. We're staying motivated. Even if I'm tired, I'm just gonna keep going. I may take a break at some point because I'm almost at my 100th episode. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for tuning in. I see you, E. I see you, Rome. I see you, Have. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope everybody's safe and well. How about I was supposed to call you today? I'll call you tomorrow. It's been a tiring day. Look at this face. This face is tired. But anyway, let's get this show on the road. My guest today is a violinist. Now I had a violinist already last year, who did amazing things, but now I have a woman who's a violinist, and I'm so happy that I finally have some more women guests because these women just be flaking on me. Nobody wants to be my guest. It's because I've been getting comments like, "Hey, you need more women on there. Do you do that on purpose?" I'm like, no, I actually want to have more women, but they have to respond or have the time to do this. Thank you guys I see you, Stuck. I see you, Brave, and I see you, Uncle Will. I see you, Stace. Everybody, thank you so much. I know Lila's already in here, so I'm just gonna go and get her in this conversation so we can get it going. Oh my gosh, if you don't know her, please find out about her. I'm so excited to have her as a guest. So glad to know everybody's safe, Uncle Will. Hey, Lila.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much for being a guest. I'm so excited about this. Like I said in my intro, I don't have a lot of women coming on because they just don't have the time, I guess.
That's surprising to me. I was so surprised by that.
I know it's people have been asking me, and I just don't know why they're not responding. So I mean they are, but I'm sure they're busy. And I just want to support women, and I absolutely loved your energy when we met. So I was like, I gotta have her. And you worked with some of my friends also. I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing.
Yes, I'm always supporting acts, and I've kind of had a lifetime of supporting acts, so the list has grown kind of long.
This is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is so what people don't understand is this is not a promote people type of talk. This is an inspirational motivational series where I want people to talk about their journey, and you've had a journey, girl.
Yes.
This is not just somebody just because you don't know her. She's not some new person in this industry. She's not, somebody that's just coming up. So this is why I wanted to have you on here to share your journey and your hardships and maybe your advice and your knowledge. And because I think you're inspirational already by just, finding out about you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So for those who are tuned in that don't really know what this is about, this is obviously about motivation and inspiration. And this was started in the beginning of the pandemic. So the first question I have for my guests is, how did the pandemic affect you professionally and personally?
That was a very interesting time, I think, for all artists across the board, because especially as independent artists, we live in the space of, hey, see me, and staying visible, buy my product, go to this site, and I think when the pandemic hit, we were all kind of met with real life, people going from a day of abundance to the next day being in full loss.
Right.
And how do you find the space in that to say, hey, see me, buy my product, go to this website. It was the worst feeling ever. Like, I think we just didn't know, many artists that I was talking to, and I was having these types of conversations, like, what do we do? It just felt sinful or guilty to even promote yourself in the space. And in the same time, in the US, we had police killings. So there was cultural things going on that was also a sacred space that you didn't want to get into while we're discussing some police murder, buy my stuff. You know, it was it was so challenging. And then I think maybe like 3 or so months into it, there was a shift of our music could be helpful to people. And we do need to find a stage, even if it's our living room. You saw a lot of artists, and I'm still performing from my living room, like, you know, doing shows online, and you could see the comments and people were grateful. And it was just kind of like challenging to find, you know, even what music to play. You didn't want to be too celebratory.
Too happy or
it was just wrangling emotions. But I think, you know, now we're starting to settle more around keep playing your music. It, you know, helps to heal. I did a string vigil shortly after Elijah McClain's death, where all these string players came and we just harmonized in a key and played for the community. It was so powerful.
It's uplifting. That's what people needed.
So it's like just trying to find ways to uplift people but also survive, you know.
And you know, I find it interesting because we're now literally over a year later. So a year ago when I was doing these talks, it was more focused on what is happening in the United States as well, which touched on globally, obviously, after, you know, George Floyd's murder. And so for you to bring it back to that from an artist perspective, talking about, you know, you feel guilty, that's not something that I've heard any artist say. But it's very valid because I felt the same way. Like, I'm sitting here doing these talks that are meant to be inspiring and nothing more than that. But it's a fine line because not everybody was in the mental space to accept what people were already doing when they were doing it quickly. So for you, you said about 3 months in, you had a shift. Some people may still need that shift, which is why I do these talks. So thank you for addressing those emotions that came with that.
They were deep. And I was trying to just, you know, bounce off with other artists to kind of decipher what that was. You know, how do we get out of that? You know, how do we come back to the forefront and share without offending? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you know, art does heal. Art definitely has a place in hard times in history like this. Like the biggest art pieces, not just musical, but just visual and written in any type of field, comes out of hardship and having to overcome certain times in life, in the world.
Yes, exactly. So
it's good that you shifted to that.
I shifted. I'm into writing now. I'm working on my next project, and I'm kind of deeply into that now. So it just, you know, it took me a minute to get here. But we're here, you know.
And so, you know, you picked up your art to see, you know, how you could navigate that and help people with your art. But it's, how did you deal with it personally, aside from your art? Like, did you have any, well, you were describing your emotions, but how was it for you to sit at home? Because you're also a touring artist. You know, so how was that?
You know, we've gone from being in the box, right? Because initially it was like, oh my gosh, I'm in this box. I can't leave the house. Especially in California, we were very strict on, you know, staying at home and those types of things. So the online performances kind of helped me, but just like on a personal level, I'm already a very clean eater. You know, I just kind of got much more in tune with that. And then my daily practices became a lot more intense, like yoga and walking, running, jogging, you know, those types of things, like to just offset the fact that I'm not extending any energy anywhere because I'm not leaving my house. So I had to find ways to get it out. Otherwise, I would have just been like, this storm inside. When you're an artist, you have like a lot of energy, you know, and a lot of that I leave on the stage, which I haven't left on a stage. And, you know,
there was no stage to leave it on.
There was no stage to leave it on. So, you know, I've been saying recently, like, man, I feel for my first audience. They're going to get it. Like,
Oh, and they wanted, because they didn't have any of that either. Like,
yes,
it's going to be a two-way street. Trust me.
yes.
They're going to want to give the energy back to you also, because they've been sitting in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for you. You have to let me know how that went when you have a show again.
I sure
So you were telling me, you know, your routine became different. You were already a clean eater. Have you made any significant changes to your mental intake or your physical intake?
Yes. Whereas I probably used to meditate here and there, you know, several times a week. Now it's a daily, I have to. Like it has become a fundamental part of my mental sanity is meditating and just finding that time to quiet everything that I'm not getting out, if that makes any sense. So
it definitely makes sense.
I had to kind of attack my mental space. I think a lot of artists did, you know, and find a way to quiet your mind. Because a lot of times that comes through composing, writing music. I'm also a writer. So I've been writing a lot more and using other art forms to get this mass ball of energy out, you know, so.
That's great though. Because you're also a dancer.
Yes, yes. So.
You do a lot of active stuff to get your energy out. I love it. I absolutely. I now see why you do all these things. You need it as an outlet.
Yes, I needed it. And, you know, dance is something that's just in my soul. So I spent the pandemic refreshing or getting back like a higher level of skill, like I used to have, of tap dance. So I'm now adding that to my show. That's what I'm saying, like, they're going to get it.
Man, I wish I could be there for the first show.
Yeah.
That would be somebody
have to live stream
for me.
you in.
Yes,
you know?
yes, please.
Yeah.
Put a phone there for me or somebody. Yeah.
For you, Pay, we will.
Thank you. No, I completely understand. So let's say, well, not let's say, because it's going to happen. The world opens up again. Do you feel like it's going to be hard for you to keep that same routine of the necessity of your meditation and stuff? Do you think it's going to be harder to keep that implemented into your life?
I think it would be if I were not so committed to keeping it. You know, my life pre-pandemic was very fast, you know, kind of.
Most of the people.
Yeah, mostly everybody, right? Really fast. And then like we entered into this time and I was reminded of what restful sleep was. Yeah. Like I had just kind of moved into a space where it's okay not to sleep that much because you're so busy and you know.
Oh no.
But yeah, you know, I mean, because I was busy. Yeah. Writing a lot and meeting a lot of deadlines, you know, and this has just kind of helped me be clear about boundaries. Yeah. And I've kind of made a commitment to myself to keep this feeling, whatever this joyful, peaceful zen of still operating in my space and getting my tasks done, but still taking care of myself more. Right. And being more in tune with that.
I think knowing what that moment does for you, for your soul, will be something that when you're like getting in over your head again, you're going to revert to that. Yeah. I think it's not even a matter of discipline and commitment at this point. It's like, wait, where's my peace?
Right.
So that might actually be the trigger for it. Like as soon as you get to that level again, like, oh wait, hold on, I gotta
and that's what I want to do. I want to be able to come right back down.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know.
That's amazing. I hope that you will find the space to do it when you're touring or when you're not in your own home, because obviously it's easier to do it when you're at home, but when you're on the road, you have to find a space and block out everybody. Like, don't disturb me this next hour or whatever.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. To opening up again. And honestly, I think you should come out here with your shows and you know, once the world opens up, you have to do the European tour at least. Like,
I am so about the European tour. I mean, we're looking into all of that. And that's one of the things about, you know, some of these new apps that have popped up. It's just allowed me to meet amazing people like you, you know, and I just want to put energy into that. You know what I mean? I also think that a lot of what I do is felt in a European tour market. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh, please.
Much
Like
more than US, honestly, but you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm a multi-genre person.
yes.
You know, so
Well, you know, honestly, I see why you're saying that it's more felt over here because I think we mash things easier.
yeah.
But also this is the home of classical music, obviously,
Yes.
you know. So
Yeah.
that is not unfamiliar to the public over here. I'm not saying the US doesn't know it, but you might have more people that understand what you're doing.
Understand. Yeah. That's what I mean. Just generally, yeah. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah.
And I love it. And you know, I had another violinist last year, Scott Tixier. And so he's French. So he went to New York. He had a whole crazy story as well. Like he was always in New York, but he made it. Like he's super famous now. And so, you know, and that's why I'm saying, like, people may not know you, but you've had such an incredible resume already. So going into that, I want to tap into your journey a little bit also because I find it inspiring. But the question I always ask people is, what was if there was a defining moment in when you found out, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, when was that? But for you, I find it hard to ask that question because you do so much. Like, I can't just say, okay, well, we know you as the blue violin. You know, so the obvious question is, when did you find out that this was something you can make your money with? But it was all kinds of things that you did at the same time.
Right. Like, I still question applies though, because in a general sense, like in a larger picture, with the artist that you see now who does all of these things, who's talented in all these different things, there was still a machine that was trying to enclose me in a box to say, you shouldn't pursue these arts. That's risky, or that's not a stable thing to do. So
who was that machine? Was that your environment?
Oh, my environment, my family, even other classical musicians who knew that I was starting to experiment with other styles. You know, you should stay over here and just be a soloist and steer here, you know, but it was never in my heart to just do one thing. You know, I mean, I think I was a kid who balanced, I might leave a dance lesson and go to a violin lesson, and the next day be at a piano lesson, and later that week be at gymnastics because my cheer team is going to competition. I mean, like, I was just,
you do so much.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, you have to, like, as a kid, I didn't recognize. I thought it was just everyone, right, could do this, right? And, but,
well, as kids, we do a lot of different things, but then we start sticking to one. Then you just figured I could stick to everything.
You know, even though, you know, even my parents, I remember my dad saying around 14, like, you can't do all these things. You got to pick one thing. And I was just still fighting it then, you know, okay. So I stopped serious ballet, but I was still on the cheer and dance team at my school. And playing in the orchestra with a cheer uniform on. Like, it was just wild. Like, when I think back on it. So somewhere in my, like, late teens, early 20s, kind of after the first Carnegie Hall experience and all of that, I was like, okay, this is who I am. And it's okay to do all these things. So I just kind of started.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I have so much respect for that, for you sticking to actually pursuing all of the talents that you have, or at least 90%, because you probably have 10% more other talents. And I say this because you remind me a lot of my friend Lydiana. I did an interview with her as well. She does a million things, and she does it all. She commits to all of them equally. And I find it so inspiring because I find myself being like, I want to do this, but then I'm slacking on that part, and I don't want to do things half-assed. So I don't have that discipline or commitment, or maybe not the talent to do it as easy as you make it seem. But in this time of the pandemic, a lot more people that I spoke to have tapped into other skills and talents that they have and nurtured it because they had the time to do it.
Yes, because they had the time, you know. And I mean, I may make it seem easy, but it's not. And, you know, I have also had to pare down. You know, I used to teach ballet, tap, piano, violin, all in the same situation.
So how does that go as a kid, though? Like, you don't even have enough hours in a day after school to do all these things?
I think you can do it. I mean, I practiced.
Well, you did it.
I mean, I did it. I practiced, you know, and that's kind of where I am with my students. Sometimes we've got 5 and 6-year-olds saying, I was too busy, or I was saying, well, why didn't you practice this week? I was so busy. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you're 5, you know, like, you're 5, and you're verbalizing this sentence at 5, I was too busy.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
That doesn't
I can't
seem
recall
right.
me saying that at 5.
I was too busy. So I've been really working with, that's a new phrase that I'm seeing in a lot of my students. Like, I was too busy.
That's
but
crazy.
I feel like it's too early to say I was too busy.
Even now in the pandemic, nobody's too busy.
No, you're not too busy, you know, and you can carve out the time. So then I ask the questions, well, did you play any video games last week? And they're like, yeah, every day. And I'm like, okay, so
right, priorities.
There was like a little time in there, you know, if you played your video game for an hour, you know, maybe 20, 30 minutes, you could have, you know, so it's really interesting just seeing how people have started to use their time, really mostly adults, like you're saying, to pick up new skills, to shift. I've seen people shift entire careers. Yeah. Like before the pandemic, they were one thing, and now there's something that has nothing to do with whatever they were before. They've gotten a license or a certification or something, and in this time,
pursuing the dream.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So I mean, I hope that, you know, to be motivating to people who just, you know, stand your ground, you know, believe in what you're trying to do, you know.
No, that's something that I've been telling people through these talks. Like, now is the time to really tap into what you want to do if you didn't do that already. Yeah. You know, and honestly, like, you know, you can have a hobby, maybe explore the hobby a little bit more, or spend more time on something that you were always interested in. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a creative talent. I mean, if you wanted to read more books, or if you wanted to find out about the history of ancient Egypt, then do that. You know, I'm just saying, like, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, exactly. Or travel anywhere. Like, flights and things were really low there for a moment, you know.
Well, flying over here is not, we can't.
Well, I know not to you.
Yeah, within the States.
But within, like, wherever you are, probably within where you are.
Yeah, this country's too small, man. This country's too small. I can drive up and down in a circle, and I'm still at the same place, and that's the country. Okay. Yeah. Amsterdam, the Netherlands, it's so small. This is why I'm feeling claustrophobic in this pandemic. So these talks help me to stay inspired. It's not necessarily for everybody else. This is just for me too. Okay. But yeah, going back to you doing all these things as a kid, for your parents or your dad to have told you, you got to stick to one thing. I do find it interesting that they did nurture your talents by letting you do all these things, because parents have to invest in, you know, the instruments, the lessons, the where they have to take you wherever. And so even though your dad may have felt like you have to pick one thing, they still invested their time and money into making sure that you were able to do all these arts. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's support.
And I think parents do that. Like, they introduce their kids to different things, you know, with the intention that, or the hope that they'll find one of these things to be their thing. Yeah. Not like me to find all of the things to be their thing. You know?
And that costs money too, all the lessons, and, you know.
Yeah. Oh, but trust. I mean, I was in a lot of situations where, especially with strings, as you know, it's not very diverse. I was in a lot of situations where I was able to get scholarships or grant opportunities, or, you know, for whatever reason, be a part of something. You know, I mean, my journey is just, I think it was just divine intervention. Like, when I look at it, the neighborhood that I grew up in has no classical music.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, but my neighborhood historically is like the first African-American community in the U.S. where Black people were able to build their own homes. It's called Orange Mound. Like, you can Google it, Orange Mound in Memphis, Tennessee. So I was a kid walking through the neighborhood with a violin. That was very odd. Or with a string instrument, period. Getting on a bus, going to a school that had an orchestra program that was not in my neighborhood community.
District,
You know, so
that wasn't even your school, or were you allowed to go to the school because you played in the orchestra?
I was allowed to go to that school. You had to, you know, go through a whole application to get into schools that had certain programs. You know, so your grades were a consideration, your attendance.
Right.
And if you had a talent and you were pursuing to try to get into one of these programs, if it was not offered in your neighborhood, right, you
Right.
could get
Further
access.
out.
So
how old were you when you were taking your little violin to the school all the way
oh
over
yeah,
there?
well that was that by the time I was riding a bus and going to an orchestra program, that was like junior high or middle school.
Oh, okay. Well,
right.
still.
But before that, it was private lessons through a program at the university.
Oh, wow.
You know? So.
And did your parents help you find out where you could take those lessons?
Well, there was one major place, like you're saying, Amsterdam is small, or the area is small. In Memphis at the time, there was one major violin program. It was, you know, out of the university. If you wanted to get in that program, you got on the waiting list. You know, it was just one place. You know, it was one major place for a certain style of learning. And this method is called Suzuki method. It's probably one of the most widespread used, most commonly used teaching methods in the world. So like students who take this method can show up in Amsterdam and find other students who take this method, and they can just play songs together because it's a certain repertoire list. So I chose to offer that to kids like me who come from communities, you know, like me, at less than 50% of the rate is kind of where I am with that now.
And do you do that globally or just where you are?
I mean, because we're virtual, I do have some students that are not in the US.
Wow.
But you would not be able to take these lessons like here in LA, and not to discredit anybody, but it's just how much this costs. This particular instruction costs $1,200 a semester.
And how long is the semester?
Maybe 12 to 14 weeks.
And that's once a week?
Yeah.
Oh, that's about
twice a week.
$100 per lesson.
I mean, it's serious. You know, once or twice a week, it's very serious. So how will we ever diversify the orchestra if this is what the elite training costs? So
now what's interesting is, so a couple of years ago, a long time ago, 5 lifetimes ago, I have to say, I worked for a touring logistics company, and I was in charge over here in Europe of the classical arts and the fine arts. And so I dealt with a lot of orchestras and ballet groups and all that type of stuff. And they're honestly, me visiting all these orchestras in Berlin and Vienna and wherever, I was the only person that was not white.
I know.
And it was,
I know. And how is that?
And it's all old people. It's like this.
Yes. So that's exactly what I'm saying. So symphony orchestras have started to have think tanks where they're having discussions about why is our audience all with white hair? And what can we do? Because now symphonies are going bankrupt in the U.S. They're having to lower musician salaries, you know, because of attendance and because of, you know, just engagement. So, like you're saying,
so I know the LA Philharmonic is the #2 orchestra in the world. I think it's the Philharmonic, because I know the Berlin either Philharmonic or Symphony Orchestra is the #1, and ours over here in Amsterdam is also in the top. But I know LA is in the top, and it did a lot of movie soundtracks as well. And is that one, to your knowledge, also not diverse enough? I haven't seen them.
I don't think any of them are.
Right? Yeah, that's true. And that's like 100-something people. For those who are not familiar with orchestras, a good symphony orchestra or a philharmonic is over 100 people.
Yes, and within those 100 people, on average, you will not see more than 2 to 3 people of color. You may not see 1 to 2 in the strings.
And are we talking about all ethnicities?
I'm talking all ethnicities.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you are, but it's...
Yeah, and I've seen it over here in Europe as well. So
so
that's crazy. Yeah.
It's very interesting, and primarily in the string section. Now you will see ethnicities, different ethnicities, definitely in brass and in the woodwinds, in the percussion, you know, but not typically within that first level of string. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so There are think tanks, you're telling me. I'm sorry, I'm very interested in this
Yeah,
because
no,
it's yeah.
I've been called into a couple. One in particular had a think tank. There were maybe 15 people in the room sitting around these long boardroom tables. And the leader of the group, who was one of the main people for the symphony at the time, said, well, what can we do? You know, how can we get people in the seats? You know, we need people, younger people to get there, to engage people, you know, of diverse cultures to be there. And they asked me this question. I was the only person of any representation of diversity in the whole think tank. So I was like,
that doesn't make sense either.
This doesn't make sense. You know, like it needs to start here. Like find people.
You're not going to get the right input if it's not the right people sitting there.
If it's not the right people. So it's just always interesting. I just saw a comedian on something that I don't even remember what I was watching, but there was a comedian discussing her obsession almost with Dudamel, the conductor of LA Phil.
Wow,
And she was from a Black community in South LA. She was so excited. She thinks I think it's his.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen that too.
Yeah, it was. So I just couldn't believe.
Was it on Tiffany? I think it was on Tiffany Haddish's thing. Yeah, I see. I remember because I was like, I know the LA Philharmonic. I was like, right. Okay.
But I felt her, and I think a lot of people have that same sentiment. They get it for whatever reason, something grabs them and makes them interested in the symphony, and then they go. And like she said, it was like bridled joy. Like she couldn't clap the way she wanted to. She couldn't yell for him. She wanted to.
It was that older lady. It was that older lady. I remember. Yeah.
And I just thought that's really part of what we talk about in these think tanks is how do we need to let people enjoy the orchestra. And yes, we've had a lot of strict traditional rules for centuries about how you may clap, how you may celebrate someone on stage, you know, and does that apply? You know, is it about the joy? Do we want people in here being joyful and engaged and enjoying this? Or do we want to keep people like this and not make it like anyone would want to come to this?
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard those conversations as well when I was even like years ago when I was working there, because I always felt so like out of place whenever they invited me to come see one of the concerts, because I can't be full of excitement. I have to like sit there. I can't like at a concert, at a regular concert, you're like, whoa.
Right.
That's you can't do that.
Saying. Yeah. And I think it should be. You can definitely do that at my concert. You know what I mean? Like,
awesome.
You know, we are all about the having fun, you know.
But you know, there I know that the Amsterdam the Orkestgebouw Concertgebouw Orchestra over here, that's what it's called, they started doing the film music, like the Star Wars and stuff, and that attracts younger people. So they're doing like the soundtracks, or they did the fusion with the hip hop artists over here. They had this whole special production full of hip hop artists from over here that had the orchestra play their songs and they performed it. So it would attract a whole bunch of young people. That was amazing.
It's just music. You know what I'm saying? It's just music.
It's instruments. Yeah.
It's instruments. You know, they have notes. You know, you can play anything you want on these instruments, which is why, you know, my students are playing, like my young students are introduced to jazz, hip hop, you know, everything early. So they won't develop these stigmas that, I mean, even I had as a kid. I played piano. I would get all the sheet music for the popular stuff, all the Michael Jackson, anything that was out, and I would work it out on the piano, learn all the sheet music. It was like, I never tried to do it on my violin. Like it never even crossed my mind.
Right, just the piano. And I got piano lessons when I was a kid. I played the piano, and it was all classical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was classically trained, but I wasn't afraid to try to play the pop stuff on the piano.
I never did that. I should have done that back then, like get the sheet music, because now you can find it online.
I was trying to play everything that came out, you know, but I never tried to interpret it on my violin, which is just so crazy. Every time I think back on that, it's like so crazy to me. Like I was that conditioned to not try until I heard a Jean-Luc Ponty album. He's a French violinist. That was the first time I heard a violinist do something other than classical, have you ever heard John Ponte?
Probably not. Maybe yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't sound familiar to me.
I was outdone. Like, I was like, oh, you can do that with the violin? And I think I was just sold. Like, it gave me license. It gave me so much license to just start trying all of these different genres with my instrument. I mean, it's literally how I got to where I am today. But
but you're not the only one. I mean, look at Mappy. You know, Mappy is doing the same thing, and she got the same, you know, backlash for it as well back then. And even Scott got the same backlash, and he's now teaching at a college in Texas. I forgot where, but he's now part of the music university up there. So
I had a few universities reach out to me. So there's a push to try to now.
And they're all Black, so, you know, or at least partly.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's a push now where people are starting to at least think about, you know, something.
And embrace it.
And embrace it, right.
Know, a lot of music genres are fusing over the past decades already, so this is not a crazy thing. Yeah. But I want to get back to Lila a little bit more. Okay, so navigating in this industry, you know, making your own path, it's honestly what you do. I don't know anybody else that does what you do in the way you do it. What were some of the hardest things that you came across in staying true to who you are and wanting to do what you do in all your arts and all your talents? What were some of the hardest things? And I want you to really carefully talk about this, because I know that people will be watching that may need this boost because they may face the same things or are not aware that this might be something they have to face.
Right. Well, that's a big question. You know, what are some of the hardest things that I faced, like in my journey? I would say myself is probably one of the hardest things I had to face, because I'm a people pleaser. You know, as an artist, we're giving, you know, and I'm a giving person. Ask my friends, I'm a giving person. I like to cook in the middle of rehearsal. I'll cook for my whole band. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is like it's serious. So learning to say no in a way that was professional was a huge challenge for me, because it was just easier for me to just say yes and stress myself out just because I didn't displease anyone or disappoint anyone in the whatever they needed me to do. Yeah. So the challenge was finding a way to get back to myself and get control of that, because I felt like I learned that I was being controlled by everything else, because I was just saying yes, okay, sure, I'll do that, you know. But then I had to get the control back. And it didn't harm anyone the way that I thought. I mean, I just thought the world was just going to die, you know, because I'm saying no. Like, the world's going to end because I said
it's your own block.
Yeah, it was my own
and I relate to that one so much, because I'm the same way. And I had to learn to say no, period, whether it was professional or personal. Like,
yeah, you know, I get you. That's what I'm saying. Like, it can be.
What else, industry-wise, aside from yourself?
Industry-wise, the box. I have fought the box for, I feel like my entire life, the box. And what is the box? The industry needs you to be in something that they can package quickly and get down one particular lane.
Definition.
Yeah, a definition. And in my lifetime, I have won so many like unsigned artist showcases. I'm talking, and I'm probably dating myself at this point, but before the internet was a thing, or before social media was a thing, you know, I was on the ground hitting the pavement.
You started when you were 5. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was hitting the ground hard, like going to showcases and conferences and winning these unsigned artist showcases, like where the prize is supposed to be. Oh, we put this album out. But the conversations turned into, how many albums can you really do? Like with hip hop violin, like this is before it's like knowledgeable that people can promote albums in different genres, string instruments. So it was kind of like, I fought an industry saying that I couldn't exist in this space. But I was looking at people who had inspired me, like Wynton Marsalis. He's recorded classical albums, full Bach trumpet, collections. and also jazz collections, and also program the whole Lincoln Center for jazz events for the, just
right.
How is it that he could do different genres, but you don't understand. So it was like, I really looked to those artists to kind of keep me focused, to keep going. So the industry and the box thing never really worked for me. And so I just kind of
shouldn't.
Yeah.
For anybody that feels like I'm uncomfortable being boxed in, don't worry about it, because we're talking about you maybe as a violinist, but even regular artists, you see rappers turning into pop stars or turning into singers, and singers who doing pop going to hip hop, going to dance, even, doing top lines for dance.
Yes.
Really, if they can all cross over and tap into new audiences, why can't a musician do that?
Right.
Like,
right. And I think it's just the violin period. It's the instrument, because it has been so restricted for centuries that it's hard to let that instrument out and just be free. So I just kind of made my own path. I trudged forward. I have an electric violin that was very, it was a big deal for kids. That's how I even got into this blue violin thing. When they saw the blue one, it was like, oh, I want to play. Right. But I was playing plenty of community concerts for kids with my regular violin. No one was, they would be excited, but they weren't, like, when they saw the electric one, it like gave them a new life. It
was more modern. It
was more modern.
So old and so classical. It's a modern instrument, just like when you take the acoustic guitar and then see an electric guitar. It's the same thing. Like, even pianos too. It modernizes it and gets rid of the I guess the old dusty image.
Yeah. So that I think was another challenge. But then maybe the third thing is just, life is a challenge for artists. Yeah. We don't control life. We don't know how things are going to move from one day to the next. So being able to find balance within life's turbulence or just, things you don't expect, the unexpected, that's a challenge in itself. I'm a mom, and for the majority of this, I've been a single mom, so that's a challenge in itself,
Girl, you just gain more and more respect. I'm like, I have no excuse whatsoever to not do what I need to do. If you do 10 different arts and you have kids, come on now, I'm slacking. You make me feel like I'm slacking.
No, you are not.
That's a good thing, though.
Just one kid, one. So,
doesn't matter. With one come the friends that want to come over and play, and it's still it's still a lot.
It's still a lot, and time moves fast. So, I'm happy to be joyful, even grateful to be where we've landed now. I dragged him along with me. He's a violinist,
Does he do 10 million things too?
No, he doesn't. He pretty much just does violin, but he was a big soccer player.
Oh, cool.
When he was younger. So I didn't know where we were going to go, but he's in violin.
I will see him running over the soccer field with his violin. It's not happening. But oh my gosh, no, it's again, I when I say to people that they made me feel like I'm slacking, that means they inspire me enough to do more. That's the type of people that I surround myself with. People that make me feel like I need to do better. Even my clients, my artists, they make me feel like I don't do enough, which is but it's also me being the people pleaser, but I've learned to do as much as I can, but I love being inspired by people that make me want to do more and be better. So you're definitely one of those people.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the time, man. I can talk to you forever.
I know.
Who are some of your biggest inspirations, or what? It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a situation or like a book or
there's so many. I know. I was musically, like I mentioned before, just hearing John Luke Ponty for the first time, and also Noel Pointer. Those two violinists really pulled me in. Really kind of opened up my mind in a whole different way, like with my approach to strings. I think I have so many people that I'm inspired by. As you can possibly see, I have a wall of just artists that I just need to see every day.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch up here, you know, so I'm
That's
inspired by
awesome.
music. I'm inspired by real music, and I'm definitely inspired by artists who have gone through like a tornado.
Right.
To
And came
be
out stronger.
yeah, to bring us music. You know, when you
Yeah.
read about artists who've had like traumatic childhoods
Yeah.
and lived in group homes or things like this, like how did they get to the point where they're bringing us this art? Like it's
Yeah.
just so divine. And I'm always inspired by that, you know, because I've
Yes.
been through some interesting things in my past, you know, that probably should have stopped me in this pursuit, but I've never stopped. You know, music is that important to me. The arts, period.
Well, the arts probably help you through it, and that's
Yeah.
some artists that you know, I've watched interviews and documentaries. Some people actually say they can't create if they're not in pain or if they don't,
I've
you know,
heard
go
that.
through something. And not to say that I'm a great artist, but I used to write like songs as well, and I found it easier to write when I was mad or when I was
Yeah.
sad, frustrated, and whenever I was happy, I couldn't write.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely understand it. I mean, I think if I actually try now to write again, I would be fine. But at that time, it helped me. It was an outlet. And I think that
Right.
with a lot of people, the best things come out of hardship, like I said earlier. Like, you know, that creates the most emotional art, because that's your
Right.
emotions that you
And
bring in.
some of the most honest art.
Yes, that's
like
it.
we were talking about What's Going On is 50 years old this month. So 50 years ago in May, Marvin Gaye bringing us What's Going On.
What exactly?
And it's still very pertinent, you know, today,
Oh,
like
yeah.
right now. So and that came out of a whole lot of pain that was going on.
Look at hip hop.
You know,
Public Enemy.
right?
I mean, that came forth out of a whole bunch of, you know, pain
I
as
learned
well.
all the choreography, by the way. You know.
Wow.
I was so into Public Enemy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm again looking at time, rushing through my questions.
I know.
So you've worked with so many people already. Can you tell me? And I know everybody was just as great because you know there's no favorites, but can you tell me a specific artist that you worked with, that a moment that you had with them that either inspired you or was funny or was just memorable?
Yes, I could tell you a bunch. I'm thinking of some that stand out, and I think it's not what people would think, you know, what would kind of grab you about a particular artist. But when I see someone experimenting in a space that they've never stepped into, I'm always inspired by that, because that's my whole life.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Try being someone who has not existed before, like Jimi Hendrix playing the guitar with his left hand. Like that was such a thing that people were making that such a thing, but we got Jimi Hendrix just fine playing it with his left hand. So when I did the title, I think it's still, I'm sure it's still on title, the title performance with Dead Mouse, who is this wildly EDM, you know, popular, to see him design a show with an 80-piece orchestra and to play behind him in this EDM space. Like I knew a little bit about, you know, EDM, you know, the music, but I didn't really, that whole experience, the energy level, the frequency in that building was just something I cannot put my fingers on still. And playing orchestral music while he was kind of at the head of it and, you know, steering it I was so inspired by that, you know, like whatever made him try this, you know, was inspiration.
Yeah, what went through his mind?
You know what I'm saying? What brought him into, oh, I should do this with an orchestra. You know what I mean? Like,
how did he find you?
Well, he actually found the instrumental casting agent that books an orchestra that I play with. So people kind of contact her company, and then she's able to put together, oh, okay, you need 80 people? I got it. You know, oh, you need 120 people? I got it. I mean, she just has a catalog like that. She's amazing.
Awesome.
So that's how I was pulled into it, because I play with, you know, her orchestra. So that was one. Another one was being in the studio with my last producer, who has since passed, but his uncle came out of retirement to work on my album, and I was so inspired by the fact, well, first of all, his uncle is James Carmichael, who brought us the Commodores, every Lionel Richie album that ever went. I mean, he's got a closet full of Grammys. Like, I've never known anyone personally that I could, like, open a closet full of, like, and just his stories. And his stories are more about thinking that, you know, thinking about, like, what you want as an artist and something divine coming in that you didn't expect or want, but it becoming your blessing. So he has been just a huge inspiration to me, because he never thought he was ever going to work with the Commodores. That wasn't what he wanted, you know. Just to briefly give you an example, he tells these stories about working for Motown, being the producer, and back in that day, you kind of moved, they gave you different acts. You might get assigned Pay Fresh this month, you know. So you work with Pay, and you're working with Pay, but you're looking over your shoulder like, man, I think the next one for me, I'm going to get the Supremes. It's my turn. I'm about to get the Supremes. So he was just kind of holding on, thinking he was about to get whatever act that he had paid his dues. He was like, oh, they called him in a meeting, and he's like, oh, I'm about to get
the meeting.
This is the meeting. And he walks in, and he said he felt bombarded. It was like 8 guys sitting around a table, and Berry Gordy, like, introducing him to these guys from Alabama. He himself was from Alabama. So I think they tried to loop that, you know. Connect. And he said they were so nice that he just couldn't say no. He said they were so nice, and they were so able to, you know, talk about what they wanted to do musically. And so that was his next assignment, the Commodores, which led to his closet of Grammys. Do you see what I'm saying?
But you're working with him now, or you have worked with him?
I have worked with him. He jumped out of retirement and put that extra special touch on my album.
But that is a huge compliment for him to come out of his retirement just for you to work on your album.
When plenty of people had asked him since Lionel Richie. Like, he's just been kind of chilling, you know.
You don't have to work anymore after those successes.
I mean, so I've had little pieces of validation where the universe has just said, keep doing, you know, keep going.
Girl, I don't understand why you're not as big as what's her name, Miri Ben-Ari. She was one, you know, she and even Mappy now. Mappy's doing her thing. Like, I feel like you've already paid your dues over the past how many years, and I don't understand.
We've had discussions. I mean, I've had my own think tanks about
I understand. But you maybe because you do so much, and also because you give back, and you are definitely a mentor to those kids. You're not necessarily focused on being famous, or you just really do it for with the passion for music and the arts, and that may be the talent that God gave you to use it in the way that you're using it now. But I feel like something big is about to happen for you if it happens.
There are some things in the works, you know. So I can't.
Hey, Jerry. That's Jerry.
There are some things in the works, you know. So, and a lot of that
excited. Honestly, I'm grateful to know you, because I mean, and I'm sure that when I told my little story about me handling classical and fine arts, people were like, "Wait, what? Pay, you did that?" It's like, yeah, I did that too. I've done a lot of stuff too, not necessarily as an artist, but I've dabbled into different types of music genres as well, and that definitely got my knowledge about classical arts and orchestras and operas even, like all of that. It got it up, and I do see that there needs to be a change, and I'm so happy to know somebody that's actively trying to make that change and combining it with hip hop, my other love, you know. So that to me is just amazing. So if at any point you need me for whatever, please let me know.
I love your energy. So I am definitely gonna.
You're giving me energy. Trust me. I mean, you're the one that needs to get rid of your energy. You can give it to me anytime.
Okay. Well, I'm in here.
Oh my gosh. I was gonna ask you, because you've worked with so many people, and I know you probably have like a whole list, because I asked my guests this. Who are still on your bucket list to work with? Name a few if you have a million, but who would you really want to work with together and make an actual new project from scratch?
Okay, I have something that I want to do, and I really say this within my friend group, so this will be the first time I'm saying it publicly.
Oh.
So here it goes.
Weird. Say it, girl. Speak it into existence.
So many years ago, I'm watching the Grammys. I watch I'm an artist. I watch these things.
Yeah.
And I watched a producer win Producer of the Year, non-classical. And the non-classical just kind of rang in my ears. Okay, non-classical. And I thought to myself then, what if this producer was able to do an album in the classical genre and be like the first producer to be a Producer of the Year in classical and non-classical?
Right.
So that person is Dr. Dre. I think that
he's right there. You can make it happen.
Right there, right there, somewhere.
Right there where you at.
But the string lines that he's used in his music, there's something there that I want to explore classically, but with a twist. You know what I'm saying? And there are only certain people who I feel could get that.
This idea,
person. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm always eyeing producers who I feel like could get it.
Yeah. That could instantly sit with you and yes, let's do this, and then put it together.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel like he would be very much open to that idea. I don't think he's ever done that before. So, and so that is something, he's definitely somebody that wants to innovate and try to see where his talents go.
It's innovation, spirit, it's all of that innovation.
So have you pitched this to him?
No, I have not pitched this to him. No, I just can say no. But it's on my
brain is working now because I know this could land at his, I don't know how many degrees of separation you are from him, but
I don't think I'm that many.
I got one.
Say that.
So, So
I wasn't gonna say one. I'm probably down to maybe 3-ish.
I got one, and it's different people that are all connected to him that I know. So I'm just like, if I can be instrumental, had to use the word, in making this happen, or at least try it, then I definitely would love to do that. So that's
why you got to speak your dreams into the universe, people.
Because you don't know who's listening, and they don't know. They may be that person that you needed to make it happen. This is also why. Not necessarily because people may make it happen, but speak these things into existence, because you don't know who's watching either. It might not be me, but people might be inspired. They're like, oh, wait, I know you are. I need you. And it creates a whole new network of possibilities. Right. And but also I truly believe in speaking things into existence. If you speak negative things out, then it's going to happen. If you speak positive things out, then it's going to happen too. So, I don't care if you believe it or not. I believe it. So I'm doing this for the people.
That's how I operate. It's all about the energy.
Exactly. So this is going to happen. Like I said, I was already, before you even said anything, I already said, something big's going to happen for you.
Yes.
We're just going to say that this is it.
We're just going to say that this is it.
This is it. It doesn't have to be next week. Doesn't have to be next year. No. His schedule may be open in 2 years. We'll take it.
You know what I'm saying? Whenever. There will be a classical album with a twist that will not be traditionally classical, but it will be in that genre.
Woo, girl, I can't wait for it to happen already. I'm dreaming about this now, so we're going to make it happen. I had one question from my friend here. She asked, Stace, she asked, Lila, are you friends with Lady Jess? Who's also a violinist in the U.S.?
No, I've not met Lady Jess, but I will look up Lady Jess.
Yes. Stacy, if you're still in here, please send her. I'm sorry?
I was just seeing a couple people in the chat that were saying hi, and I missed hi, Jerry.
Yeah. There's a lot of people. I try to direct people to the question box, so we don't have to keep paying attention to the to the comments and keep the conversation flowing. But Stacy, if you're still watching, please shoot the links to Lila, and I know she shot them to me, so I'll just shoot them to you as well. But we have to, there she goes. Look her up. She's worked with Beyonce. Okay. Well, we're going to do that, Stace.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Lila, again, this hour flew by because I'm just so intrigued by your story and your
Thank
ideas
you.
and your knowledge about, you know, the diversity in orchestras. I'm part of a D&I group over here for this venue, and it's just, you know, it's being put together everywhere. I was part of a Finnish music conference for the D&I, so
Oh, wow.
I'm very, very interested in the orchestras
Yes.
being more diverse because
I
want
love
to
this.
go to
I didn't
these
know
things.
anything about this in your background. This is amazing.
I
Like
don't think anybody knew about this. So yeah, that was definitely a subject that triggered me to talk a little bit more about it. And again, I can talk to you probably for another hour, which most of my guests who have a resume, they don't fit in an hour. But but I just want to thank you for taking out this hour, and we're gonna be in touch and making things happen.
We are. Thank you
on all kinds of sides.
Thank you for having me. You know, it's so important, you know, to be able to share in this space, especially now, like during this pandemic, and connecting with people has been a huge thing for me. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And you know, honestly, we met once in a room, and I was like, I gotta hit up this lady because you were so great with your energy. And then I read your bio. I was like, oh my gosh, she did so much. I'm seeing James Worthy come in here. Man, you should work with him. I think you both could work, so make some magic as well. James, you missed this whole conversation. You better look. You better watch back because this lady is everything. So before we close out, I always ask my guests, do you have a life motto or an advice that you live by that you want to give out to the people?
Yes, I do. I have several. You know me. Every time you ask a question, I'm like, oh, I got a bunch. The main one, just be you. Just be you. Your passion, your success comes from being you. When you're trying to do something else or being something other people want you to be, it typically does not work out. But when you really hone in and just beeline into who you are, success.
Yes. Everybody says that. It sounds cliche, but if everybody says it, then it must be true. And
like I didn't get it a long time ago. I didn't get it, but I get it now. Like literally be who you are.
It works for you, girl.
Hey,
you got me with it. So all right. Anything else?
Well, you know, just to everyone who's watching or who may have a chance to take a look at this, motivation and inspiration, I feel, you know, comes from so many different sources. So just make sure that in your daily life that you slow down enough to catch it or to see it. Because sometimes you might miss it. So just, you know, slow down, pay attention to the little things, and take time for yourself. That's the best way to say it.
Thank you so much, Lila. I absolutely love you. I'm so happy we met and connected.
Hey.
You have a fan in Amsterdam and definitely a supporter in everything you do.
For this.
Yes. Thank you for wanting to be here. Thank you for giving us inspiration, motivation, and also
it's
mutual. A new look on doing a lot of things. I got some fire under my butt now. So tomorrow, the first thing I'm going to do is like, Lila's doing 5 things right now, so I have to do at least 2. That's how I'll be thinking tomorrow morning when I wake up.
Okay.
Thank you so much again.
You too. All right. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to have to kindly ask you to see yourself out.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't have the button. Thank you.
Sure.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, this was such an amazing conversation, everyone. I couldn't get enough of her energy. I see why she does so much, because she'd be bouncing off the walls if she only did one thing. I guess she has too much energy. And this is what I need for these talks, that people with positive energy and inspiration, motivation to give out. And I'm happy that she was able to do so, at least for me. I don't know about you guys, but I really appreciated this, and I'm going to try and be instrumental into facilitating that possible collaboration with Dr. Jaime, because that would be so amazing. I will definitely want to hear how that project turns out. I see a lot of people tuning in. You guys are a little bit too late. I appreciate you tuning in, but you may want to watch this after I upload this on my IGTV. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I hope everybody's safe and happy. I hope that the weather is better where you are than over here, because we're still living in winter time or whatever. I don't even know anymore. But I don't know if I'll be back next week. I may take a small break for a week, but I'll definitely be back because I am going towards my 100th episode, and I have to figure something out to make it special. This is why I may take a break, because I haven't figured it out yet. It's too much going on, and I don't even do as much as Lila. But yeah, thank you guys. I'll be posting new promo flyers soon whenever I have more guests, and they are lined up. So no worries. I'll definitely be back. Thank you guys. Have a great night, evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.